The legendary Super Saiyan, Cell, Frieza, Boo? Looks like it's time to find your inner evil. Dragon Ball Z Taiketsu for Nintendo Game Boy Advance. If you've got a favorite character, you've got to fight. Rated teen.
Welcome back to Retro Rebound. In today's video, we are kind of celebrating Dragon Ball still. I mean, we celebrated it with the announcement of Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 4 by, remembering the whole series and why it's so special to us. But I decided to continue the fun by going back to a pretty controversial Dragon Ball game known as Dragon Ball Z Taiketsu. I mean, look at that glossy box art. Nothing can go wrong here, right? Well, if you go over to Metacritic, you'll see that there's an average of a 40 Metascore, and even fans aren't too favorable with this one at a 5.9. So yeah, I thought continuing that tradition, we already checked out Ultimate Tenkaichi, we checked out Sagas. There are so many wonderful Dragon Ball games, but there are also apparently so many bad ones, and I want to make sure I keep it even here. For every good, there must be bad. Yin and yang here on Retro Rebound. So ladies and gentlemen, if you are new here, you are into Dragon Ball content, retrospective, nostalgic content, you are in the right place. Consider subscribing. Let's begin with the complete box experience. All right, so can't miss box art here. When we flip it over to the back, you'll notice it's from Webfoot. Sound familiar? They're the developers of a series we've covered here on the channel, Legacy of Goku. So when I saw Webfoot, I went, wait, 40 Metascore? No Legacy of Goku 1 energy here. Come on now, it's gotta be 2, please. But apparently not. So let's continue reading the back of the box. It says, 15 DBZ warriors, including Broly, will fight tooth and nail to become the ultimate champion. The gauntlet has been thrown down. The challenge issued. Can you fight your way to the top? Pulverize opponents with super powerful combos and super moves. Battle opponents on the ground or in the air, and power up to the next level and let loose blistering attacks. And we see some nice little sprite art here. Goku screaming his head off. We also see on the front, you got Boo, Cell, you got Frieza. Great box art. It reminds me a bit of Sagas. Remember where I said the manga panels were awesome in that video? It's something with apparently bad Dragon Ball games having some of the most fire box art, like Goku doing a ki blast out of his hand, and that's where they place all of the logo, all the branding. I love it. Now, as I was going through this complete box experience, which cost me $60, by the way, I love you all, trust me, I noticed something pretty funny in this here manual that I cannot wait to show you all. But we have all the inserts, all the slips. Of course, we also have here, if it'll come out, the cartridge. So this is what you get. And I played this on my analog pocket. It also comes with, yes, a little poster. Yeah, that's Webfoot's thing, right? We've shown the posters for Boo's Fury. We showed the poster for Legacy of Goku 2. It's a little ripped, but that's okay. I don't think I'm going to be hanging this one up anytime soon. And just like Legacy of Goku 2, as you'll see, it's the box art, but a little more colorized. And then the back here actually has all of the characters' super moves. This is extremely necessary. I'll get into why in just a moment here. But what else we have here are some Atari stickers. Back when the Dragon Ball game franchise side of things was very interesting, we were getting just tons and tons of random Dragon Ball games, as I'm sure you can tell by our coverage. You get the Game Boy booklet, and then most importantly for us today, we have the manual. So let's start tabbing through this. As I said, there's something pretty funny in this one. Don't worry, the manual is actually pretty fire, nice and colorized, which is what we're looking for here. So controls, okay? Follow along with me here. So they got the basic controls here, your light kick, your light punch, how you move, you block, crouching, heavy punching, pausing, taunting, how you build up ki, right? Okay, cool, got it. Like basic controls that go across every character in the game. They go into a little bit more, basic fighting moves. Okay, ki blast, how do I do my super, my uppercuts? Okay, here's where I think it's really funny. All right, so you have the combos here, right? And you're probably thinking, like, in any fighting game, every character, as you'll see again on this here poster, there's a pretty decent roster here, and all of them should have their own combos. It's a Game Boy Advance game, sprite work. You should only expect so much, but here's their reasoning behind the combo system, if you will. So it says, each character has numerous powerful combo moves. but the exact sequence must be memorized and executed precisely. The list of combo moves is unique to each character. You won't find the combo moves listed in the manual. You've got to figure them out for yourself by playing the game. Okay, so imagine me firing this one up blind. First time playthrough, by the way. And I just go into a couple of modes and I'm thinking like, all right, let's mess around with Android 18. Like, let's just see what happens here, right? Let's throw some hands. I'm fighting along. I'm thinking, I can't really string together more than a 2-hit combo here. What's going on? So I do what any old school gamer would do. I'm like, let me break out the manual. It's what I paid for, right? And I crack it open and imagine finding that. And you're like, okay, it said in the manual. Let me go to training mode, sift through the menus and see if there's, you know, any combos, any inputs for the supers. No. No, couldn't find any. I was sitting there like, what? So I imagine picking up a fighting game blind, not knowing how to do the combos or the super moves, and then going, okay, so I'm gonna go online to GameFAQs. And I actually had to pull up a walkthrough where someone, by the way, called it one of the best Dragon Ball games of all time. I was like, okay, to each his own. And in there is the combo guide. And these inputs are nuts. It's of course Game Boy Advance game, so you're gonna have your BALR. Like, it's not complex in that regard, but they'll have you doing quarter circle forward, quarter circle back, and I appreciate that. I'm like, oh, real fighting game inputs, awesome, but it's all hidden. And they just expect you to figure it out by doing random inputs. Like some of them have you going half circle forward and half circle back, then pressing a combination of buttons. How do you just play the game and figure that out yourself? So to me, right away, I went, that's problematic. But I have GameFAQs on my side. That's okay. Let's see what else we got here. So as we'll go through in this manual, you'll see right here, the main menu, one player, multiplayer, options, Z-Store. Not necessarily the most content-rich game. I guess this game was ahead of its time, where nowadays I feel like fighters are not really loaded with content like they used to be. I think of some of the Mortal Kombat games where, you know, oh my God, they had like kart racing mini games and whatnot. It was awesome. This is where you're gonna actually see some of the Legacy of Goku artwork being used in the bios. So what happens is as you complete fights in this game, you're gonna earn what's called Z points, and you can go to the Z store where you can buy, as you'll see here in the manual, bios, image gallery, jukebox, bonus settings, bonus modes. So there's actually a pretty good unlock loop here. It's just that when you're playing it, number one, I found it so frustrating that there really weren't any guides to the inputs for Taiketsu, but beyond, by the way, my poster, which I thought was interesting. But it's also that the AI in this game is so back and forth. It's really hard on you. It's extremely hard on you. A very reactive type of AI, and I wouldn't say it's programmed to a T where it's like, oh, this is nice and fair and challenging. It just at times almost has an answer for anything you do. And what it led to was, okay, what if I cheese the game, which I think is the worst, most boring way to play a fighter. What if I cheese the game and just beat up on this opponent with the same combo over and over? That worked pretty well. And that reminded me a bit of, this is going to be a really out-of-pocket one, but Injustice 1, I remember fighting online in that game, and the amount of projectile spammers in that game was nuts. They fixed it with some of the burn attacks in Injustice 2, but Injustice 1, oh my God, that game, I love that game, but the online in high school made me rage. And so it reminded me of that. I was like, I'm just spamming to win. This isn't fun. I'm just cheesing the game. But as a kid, I'm sure it's something I would have somewhat appreciated. Now, speaking of things I could appreciate with this game, because I don't want to just come in here and dog too hard on Taiketsu, right? Especially it's come from Webfoot. Come on now. So what I will say I like is some of the backdrops. Now, I say some because there are some, you know, that look pretty good, like West City. And then there are others that I'm sorry, I gotta say, it look like testicles hanging from the ceiling, and I'm not sure what we were going for here, but it's something, right? It's the beauty of sprite work, if you will. You know, it was a decent looking game for sure. You know, because the sprite arts are so tall, they look very heavily pixelated. Even when I was on my analog pocket, where you have a more vibrant image, it still looked, you know, a little too stretched out for the character models. And I get it, they were trying to get all the details in them. and it looks good for some compared to others. You know, I thought Gohan looked pretty good. Trunks looks a little weird. 18 definitely looks weird. So it's hit or miss with this art style, and overall, it's a pretty inconsistent visual experience. Now, what will you be doing in this game? I mentioned the single player, multiplayer. Well, that's where the manual kicks back up again. You'll see that it says tournament, endurance, time challenge, and sparring. That's the training mode. You can also link your Game Boys to play against a friend if they decided to, for some reason, buy this game. You can unlock a secret mode here, which is another style of endurance. So don't get your hopes up that it's something legit. But there is not a story mode here, is what I want to get into. And I thought this was a little disappointing because they have a tournament mode, which is kind of the main single player. So in tournament, you have 6 different rounds you're going to fight through with a sub boss and a mini boss to beat the game. And when you complete it, you're going to unlock new characters. Now, what I found kind of upsetting was as I'm going through it, I'm seeing these interesting matchups, such as when I played as 18 and started up her story mode. I thought, oh, this is cool. I'm fighting Krillin. Are they going to have some type of unique interaction here? Because there are a couple. And no, nothing. It just fight begins. Again, I don't need a ton of dialogue, but if this is going to be the main conduit for unlocking characters, then, you know, I do think that we could have had a little something there. What I do like about this game is the classic fighting game vibe, though. I do really like in Taiketsu that unlockables are at the heart of everything. I feel like every fighting game tries to be far too technical, kind of leaves the fun to the wayside because every single one of them are trying to get on Evo so they get mainstream attention, competitive players get involved, and once that happens, then you got money coming in, and it's a big community. I get why they do it, but I miss the days again where fighting games were a mixture of fun and unlockables. So what I like about Taiketsu is everything comes down to those Z points, where as I mentioned, you'll get those bios, you get the images, and they're not super exciting unlocks, but I like that there are characters that I gotta play the tournament mode for to unlock, and some of them being the main highlights of the game. That's, to me, I find that fantastic, actually, especially nowadays. There's something soulless about firing up a fighting game. You fire it up, you click single player, everyone's there. Everyone. And there might be one hidden unlock that you get at the very end of the game by beating the game or something. To me, it lacks the spirit of what at least I grew up with in fighting games. So to see that in Taiketsu was actually pretty nice, because as a kid, you know, I can imagine myself actually coming back to this a couple times as an adult. Well, we can talk a little bit more about the fighting game experience here, because Taiketsu, as I mentioned, the AI is spammy. And to win, you probably want to spam back as you get into those deeper rounds. The fights are very back and forth. The health bars aren't draining immediately. What I noticed, though, is sometimes the AI will just stand there and wait for me to put in a super attack. So there's really no pressure if you don't create pressure. Like I said, the AI is responsive to what you do. So if you're jumping in and attacking, they're going to be equally as aggressive. So they almost match you, but then will overpower you because it's a computer. Whereas when you're not doing anything, you can even see in some of the footage, I'll be trying to like put in, you know, basic inputs for my super attacks, and they'll just stand there and let it happen. And when a super attack happens, I thought, oh, they can't move because I put in, you know, the input. And actually, the AI would hit me with super attacks, and I'd be able to move out of the way, jump, dodge, all that stuff. And I thought, okay, so the AI just really lets you have it. And that kind of removes some of the satisfaction of the game. Otherwise, the manual gets into the character selection screen. It has the status bar here, saving and loading, some tips, and then you're into the credits. So it's a pretty thin manual in the scheme of things with a registry on the back here. But between the poster, the stickers, and the manual here, you do get a lot of cool stuff in the complete in-box experience, which as a collector, I appreciate. For those who don't know, I am trying to get, even if they're not that great, I am trying to get every Dragon Ball game in my collection over time. There's one that's kind of avoiding me right now because it's so much money and I'm looking for a house with my fiance, but it's the Advanced Adventure game. I mean, that one is expensive and extremely rare. I never see it online. So I'm crossing my fingers one day I'm gonna just stumble upon it for a solid deal. I don't need to have hundreds of dollars off, but not like almost 600 like I've seen online, and get that. But Taiketsu was an experience for sure. It was not the most fun. I bounced off it pretty quickly in the scheme of things. The unlock nature of it is great. and it didn't really give me that Shin Budokai feel, where obviously this was 2003, so, you know, it didn't feel like that Budokai in your pocket like Shin Budokai did, where that was almost revolutionary for us. But it's not a bad time. It's not a good time. Like, I actually think the reviews are pretty accurate. All of them sit right in the middle. Yeah, I would agree. Like, it's a pretty mid-video game. It's not awful. It's not amazing, though. According to the person who wrote the Game Facts article, though, that it is amazing. But I digress. It was a decent time going back to Taiketsu. My wallet hurt a little bit when I bought that complete box experience. I was like, man, I don't know, but all for you. So let me know what you think of Dragon Ball Z Taiketsu in the comments down below. Did you play it a lot? Was it a big part of your childhood? I am very much looking forward to seeing your thoughts. Other than that, be sure to check out all the other content we have here on Retro Rebound. Certainly we have a lot of Dragon Ball content. We just uploaded our retrospective for Budokai Tenkaichi, so you can go ahead and check that out. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's enough from me. I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and I will catch you in the next Retro Rebound. Peace out.